Ladies and gentlemen, here we are expanding more on the Vancouver Canucks and some of the names that they have been linked to. If everything worked out the way that I hoped it would, because I'm going out on a trip this week and I had to pre-record some content for Saturday, Sunday, Monday. If everything works according to plan, then this will be the second in a series of 2 videos so far talking about players that David Pagnotta linked to the Vancouver Canucks in his Summer Trade Watch article. This is the same article that we've been pulling a whole bunch of stuff from. Jared McCann, Elias Pettersson. Other teams are also mentioned in this too, but we have not dived into most of them just yet, because I wanted to talk about yet another one of the top forwards that has been listed on this series of players that could be moved. And of course, you already know from the title, from the thumbnail today, we are heading over to Dallas, Texas, and talking about one of the most recent names to have donned the NHL trade rumor label, alongside of his teammate and buddy Jason Robertson. Pagnotta's trade list will be linked in the description, and I wanted to dive into the 6th overall name. It is Mason Marchment of the Dallas Stars, 30 years old, $4.5 million AAV. The write-up here says the Stars are looking to shed some salary and create cap space, and Marchment may become a casualty of their tight proximity to the cap. He has some no-trade protection in his contract as he enters the final year of his deal, but Dallas is looking to move him. Teams reportedly linked are the Toronto Maple Leafs, the Carolina Hurricanes, and the Vancouver Canucks. Now, a lot of the things that you can say about Jared McCann can also be applied here with Marchment. And I'm not talking about the draft story. Oh no, Marchment wasn't a former Vancouver Canuck who was given up on way too soon and he was traded for Eric Branson and we made a video about him getting traded 9 years ago. No, that's not Marchment, that's McCann. But a lot of the conversation as to the fit, what Marchment could be on Vancouver, that is quite similar to the Jared McCann story, at least in my opinion here, my very humble opinion. And I wanted to dive into some of the extra trade talk in regards to Marchment just to give some more context as to where everything is seeming to go here. We had some tweets to go over, like this one. David Pagnotta said on NHL Network last week that Dallas's preference is to try to move Mason Marchment, Levshunov, or Dumba, not Jason Robertson. And of course, we all recognize where this is coming from. Jason Robertson is reportedly in trade talks because of the salary cap situation in Dallas. They got Mikko Rantanen re-signed. He's a big piece of their future. But there is already a bubbling up idea that says that they might need to trade somebody of value away because they just don't have the money to be able to spend. Mason Marchment looks like the main dude here, especially up front on forward, if you exclude Levshunov and Dumba. Friedman also spoke about on 32 Thoughts the other day that the Dallas Stars really do want to keep Mikael Granlund. Matt Duchene wants to stay in Dallas as well. There are a number of guys here that kind of need money. If you wanted to say they're going to stick around, and there might be some collateral damage in the process. Now, when it comes to Mason Marchment, this is a guy whom I would really be interested in for the Vancouver Canucks. One of the 3 teams that are linked to him. He's 29 years old, 6'5", 212, left-handed left-wing center, signed on till the end of this upcoming 26 season at $4.5 million a year. Yeah, it's not great to have a guy heading into a final season of the contract. You would need to maybe work out an extension if you wanted to solidify his role in the organization longer term. But Marchment is a big body who has some pretty good wheels for a guy who happens to be as big as he is. And this previous season he had scored 47 points in 62 games played. One of the better point-per-game seasons that he has had. Maybe not as good as the Panthers season he had in 21-22, the last Panther season he had accrued. But Marchment was always a guy who had worked his way up. He was a former Maple Leafs prospect who inevitably found himself in the Florida system. broke out there, got the bag in Dallas, got that $4.5 million AAV contract, and now he could be on the move. If Vancouver were to acquire a guy like this, would he not be like the perfect Rick Tocchet type guy? Okay, I have to stop saying that, man. Like, physical, yes. Plays with pace, yes. Drives to the net, yes. He can score, yes. Perfect Rick Tocchet guy. But Tocchet's not here anymore in Vancouver. It's Adam Foote's turn now. So, while that does not discredit from the skill set that Mason Marchment has, it does kind of beg into question just how his overall skill set will be used in Vancouver. Last year, it was very obvious. Guys who play like Connor Garland, guys who play like Kiefer Sherwood, guys who play like Mason Marchment, they'll be ran into the ground, north-south hockey, forechecking hard, board battles, defensive responsibility, drive the net, try to get a goal. If not, pass it back to the point and let Quinn Hughes do all the work. With Adam Foote at the helm, hopefully there's a little bit more offensive creativity. But I will say, I'm kind of dismissing Mason Marchment's overall ability to contribute in a creatively offensive way. He played very well with Wyatt Johnston and Matt Duchene this season. Tyler Seguin also on that line at certain parts of the year too. There were a number of guys in this Dallas organization that just had really strong production, and Marchment was no different alongside of some of these guys. Like, I can't even count the amount of times that I had dropped and picked up Mason Marchment on the waiver wire in fantasy this year, because at certain times when he would get hot, oh boy, he would get really, really hot. And I don't know, just the idea of having somebody who can play with that sort of pace and that size alongside of an Elias Pettersson whilst producing some goal support too. I mean, is that not the kind of guy that Petey would potentially thrive with the most? 20-goal scorer, power forward guy. I'm not saying this is the second coming of Andrei Kuzmenko or anybody, but Mason Marchment can be a very good winger option right in front of that Jake DeBrusk. If you wanted to space it out in that way, have a 1-2 punch of DeBrusk and Marshy, I actually do kind of like that idea here. It's not perfect, but still, it beats having, whom else? Niels Höglander? Okay, no, Höglander is fine. I don't know, honestly. The point is, you can always get more good wingers, and for the Vancouver Canucks, while it's true that maybe a winger isn't necessarily the biggest need, everybody's talking about a center, it doesn't look like Vancouver sees Filip Chytil as a long-term second-line center. If you're able to flesh out the winger core to include Marchment, Lekkerimaki, Höglander, Chytil, DeBrusk, Garland, Joshua, then all of a sudden, there's a lot more winger depth on this team than you may have realized. And that's assuming, Lekkerimaki does the things that he's supposed to be able to do. Hopefully, he's able to take that next step. It's not guaranteed, but of course, Canucks fans gotta be hopeful at this point in time. So with all that in mind, the question does become, what kind of assets will the Dallas Stars be interested in? It doesn't seem too much like they're too keen on whatever sort of return. It just seems like they want to free up the money, so it doesn't really appear like they would be interested in anybody who's too expensive coming back the other way. Maybe a younger piece that can be an NHL contributor. I mean, if you think about D-men, Villander's there, Mancini's there. I don't really know if it's intuitive for the Canucks to trade away a Lekkerimaki for a Marchment, although I would understand that from a right now point of view, it's like, okay, Marchment's a better player than Lekkerimaki today. How quickly is that going to be the status quo, though? At what point does Lekkerimaki start to even think about overtaking Marchment? Does that play into whether or not you would think about him as a trade option in this scenario? I don't know. You can let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about this entire Mason Marchment idea for the Vancouver Canucks? Is this a realistic possibility? Let me know in the comment section. What do you think? Why or why not? Let me know in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. Scrolls 9, and bye.